Our lives are dominated by the physical world, and often we don't take the time to think about the deeper meanings of things. Whether you're spiritual or not, a spiritual emergence is when something that is suppressed in the spiritual realm comes up to the surface, usually very suddenly and very unexpectedly. If somebody has been very focused on the physical world, on logic and what can be seen, but they actually have a spiritual nature, which we all do, it can be that that spiritual energy comes to the surface very suddenly in order to be acknowledged and brought into awareness. And this can cause disturbances, whether mentally, physically, or emotionally, and quite often a combination of all three. It can cause an identity crisis because if somebody is not identified as a spiritual person but suddenly starts having spiritual experiences or getting spiritual insights, it can be very disconcerting and cause a lot of internal conflict between what they believe, what they did believe, what they believe now. That can cause anxiety in itself, just this dissonance between who we were and who we've become or who we're becoming. There's an inner conflict between the old me, the current me, and the new me. It's important to be able to align those three versions of ourselves, accept who we've been in the past, accept who we are now, and accept the change that is occurring and become aligned with it. There are various classifications of spiritual emergence, so I'm just going to run through a few of them. Firstly, Kundalini awakening is an experience which is associated with energy rising in the body. It's said to clear impurities and trauma from the body. So this affects our physical health, our emotional health, and our mental health if you have not prepared for it in advance. So ideally, the body will be prepared for Kundalini awakening so that it becomes a clear channel for the energy coming through. But when this happens spontaneously, the energy tries to move through the body, but there are blockages caused by trauma, bad diet, and suppressed emotions, for example, which stop the energy from moving freely. And that can cause physical discomfort as well as emotional swings and mental health issues. Another type is a shamanic calling. So this is where a person is called to be a shaman. Might sound unusual in Western society, but it's recognized in lots of indigenous societies. But this can still happen in Western societies, even where it's not acknowledged. So often the person gets ill, they get a calling to become a shaman. And if they're not ready or open to that calling, it can cause an illness because the person is resistant to that. And the resistance, again, blocks the energy or the expression that's trying to come through and creates issues for that person. So a person who's called to be a shaman is somebody who brings healing to the community. They often have a higher state of consciousness, which enables them to see things which other people can't see. So kind of insight into life and into the reasons for things happening and what people need to do to resolve that. Another one is a near-death experience, which again shatters somebody's perception of life, completely changes how they view life, can make them see things from a completely different point of view. We hear about, for example, life reviews or meeting ancestors. Just the very fact that that person has faced death is going to affect the way that they see life and the way that they live life in many cases. The same could be said for an alien encounter. If somebody is not really open or hasn't thought about whether there are aliens, non-human entities, and they have an encounter that makes them really think about that and challenges their beliefs, again, that can be completely life-changing and it can cause a spiritual awakening. It can cause a spiritual emergence. So spiritual emergence is often mistaken for a mental health issue because it can cause a sudden change in the person's personality. It can cause them to ask life questions. It can cause them to talk about things which other people don't understand. It could look like madness. It can be extremely overwhelming for that person, so they might start to display strange behaviors or find it difficult to cope with life. And usually the person needs grounding, so they've kind of gone off in their thoughts and in their spiritual energy, and they need to bring that back down to earth. So practices like walking barefoot on the ground or eating foods which are grounding, foods which are grown in the ground, for example, can be very grounding and bring that person back into this reality and this dimension. If the person grounds and if the person is able to get through this experience, they can bring the gifts of awakening into this world. And that's the gift of this whole experience. It's extremely challenging and difficult to get through, but with the right support from peers, other people that have experienced this type of emergence, the person can pull through. Usually there are gifts of the awakening, things that the person has learnt by going through this experience that they can then easily bring to other people, a teaching maybe, or a practice. It is challenging, I think, to bring that profound experience back into simple terms and make it something which is understandable and accessible to others. But there is a learning there that can be shared. If this resonates with you, I'd be really interested to hear your comments. Please post a comment in the comment box, and please remember to like and subscribe.